Ken, some people say that there's really no need to do any meditational practices because everything we need is already here. So we don't actually have to do anything. What do you think of that?
I think it sounds very attractive in a lot of ways. Wouldn't it be lovely if all we had to do was to sit and it would all happen to us? And often people who talk about this are people who have either experienced a great awakening very quickly and a transformation of themselves that seemed to be very quick. And it's interesting because as I read their stories, what I usually discover is that they've spent years doing things. I've been reading something recently where a person has been saying this, that really meditation is not necessary, nor is any particular practice, because if it meaning awakening is going to happen, it will happen. And that it's not on our agenda, it's on an agenda of some other force or on the agenda of life itself. As I kept reading the story, I discovered that this particular person had spent years training to be a Catholic priest, that he had also spent a lot of time, I don't know how much time, going to various gurus and studying with them. He was not that enchanted with them, as it turned out, but prior to, I'm not sure if it was prior to becoming a priest or subsequent to becoming a priest, he decided that it wasn't for him. He then, having done that, spent 20 years working as a carpenter. And then he went to South America and had a great awakening. Those of you who know this story will know who I'm talking about. It seemed to me that all of that was preparation, and that there was no way he was sort of just an ordinary Joe living his life without a particular interest in meditation and spiritual development and all that sort of thing, and suddenly it all happened to him. And that when he went to South America, into the jungle, he was actually working, he was actually with a group of people who were working spiritually with him as well. So I found it difficult to understand why he would say it would all happen to him. Another level I understand completely, because when we're in that amazing state of oneness and openness where everything is alive and is life, and there is no thing anymore, and there's no time and there's no space, of course it's obvious that there's nothing we need to do. However, it seems to me, and perhaps it only seems to me because this has been my path, that we actually need to prepare ourselves so we can get to a state where we are open to that event occurring. And so I regard, and in the years I've been teaching meditation, I've always thought of it this way, that the specific meditations that we do, like grounding and centering and creative release, and like mantra meditations and meditations that open centers and release energy systems in us that we're not particularly aware of, are actually all preparations for maybe the big event, if it's going to come like that. It's also training in managing consciousness. And one thing's for sure, in my experience anyway, is that the more that awakened energy and life starts to flood through us, the more who we are presents itself to us. And if we're very contracted around certain things, then all those old feelings and that unfinished business in histories and so on asserts itself very strongly and has to be dealt with. And it may well be dealt with suddenly if someone has a massive awakening. I've not had that experience, but it seems to me that for a lot of us, a more gradual path is more usual, and that there is benefit in meditating when we meditate in order to train ourselves to be able to stay open to experience, to stay with the immediacy of the physical, to continue with an orientation without being controlling, so that we move into what Elizabeth and I think of as the I am here and now, which is a very physical state. And in that state, which pinpoints us in the present moment, two things happen. The present moment and our access to what's happening in other places and in our own location expand. And we move into transcendent states. And we can't move into transcendent states while we're still processing things and thinking about them and that sort of thing. So getting to the point where it is relatively easy for us to maintain that sort of concentration opens us for and prepares us for those wonderful times when lightning strikes, as it were. And when it does, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and is likely to challenge us even more than we've experienced through the preparatory stages. However, because we've got some basic training, we've got an inbuilt way of responding to that, which means we open up more and more rather than close down because we're becoming what seems like overloaded with it.